Hello, everyone. This is Eric with PotStocks.com. Today we have the pleasure of interviewing the CEO of Two Rivers Water and Farming and GrowCo, John McKowen. Two Rivers is a conventional farming company, and their marijuana subsidiary GrowCo is aiming to maximize efficiency and greenhouse grow operations in the burgeoning cannabis market. John, it's great to have you on the program. Let's get started with your history and operations. Give us a little idea of how Two Rivers Water and Farming got started and how you're transitioning into the cannabis marketplace with GrowCo.
Sure. So we started Two Rivers Water and Farming Company back in 2010 with the idea that both irrigated farmland and water rights would be something that would increase in value over time as farmland increased in value and as water, which is scarce in Colorado, increased in value. And we made our first acquisitions back in 2010, and to date we've probably expended about $30 million in capital acquiring irrigated farmland on the Arkansas River in Colorado, which is southeastern Colorado. The basic business model there was to acquire land that had senior water rights that was currently growing grain crops. And with that type of business model where you're just growing grains, last year, you were lucky if you were able to gross somewhere between $500 and $700 an acre. We acquire that farmland and we immediately turn it into high yield, high value fruit and vegetable production, and we take that from $7,000 an acre to around $5,000 an acre gross with better margins. So this year we're farming about 800 acres. We'll be growing watermelon, pumpkins, squash, parsnips, various other fruits and vegetables, and we use as a rotation crop. We grow corn, and we're potentially looking to bring hemp in as a rotation crop. It has very good nutritive attributes that we would like to use as a rotation crop for our fruits and vegetables once we can establish some processing facilities for that. But anyway, back in April, May of last year, we were approached by a group of investors that was interested in putting up greenhouses in Colorado. And we had been approached by many groups before that, but they really didn't have the business acumen that we were looking for to partner and use our water rights and our land down there in Pueblo County to put up greenhouses. But this group did. In our opinion, they're probably the gold standard for greenhouses for growing any type of plant. And so they came to us and they wanted to acquire our water rights and acquire some land. Instead of doing that, I said, why don't we partner up? We'll contribute the water and land, and we'll also raise capital for you for GrowCo. We'll form a company called GrowCo, and we'll raise capital and we'll become partners in this deal. And so we did that. We started developing that program, started developing our plans. In January, we closed on about $4.5 million for our first greenhouse, started constructing that, and we expect to have that in production by within the next 30 days. And we've already ordered our second greenhouse, and we'll put that right next to the first one. And in Colorado, overall, we expect to put 4 greenhouses in the next by the middle of 2016, and then we expect to then take it national. The greenhouses that we're putting up are state of the art for specifically designed to grow cannabis, and they can be located almost anywhere.
John, you're at the ground level of the cannabis industry, growing the product, ensuring its stability and productivity literally from the ground up. Can you give us a little information on your value proposition for GrowCo and any information on the industry that you might have as a whole?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of subtopics inside of that, but the fundamental value proposition for the cannabis space and growing it inside of a greenhouse is this. For the industry itself, the greenhouses can grow 2 to 3 times what you can grow in a conventional converted warehouse that is been converted to grow marijuana. So you get a value proposition there of 2 to 3 times the amount per square foot, probably at less than half the cost. So that's our first value proposition. For our investors, the value proposition for GrowCo and Two Rivers is that the CapEx, the amount of capital needed to be expended to create one of these greenhouse facilities, which is 90,000 square feet of grow space and 15,000 square feet of warehouse and processing space. That CapEx comes in around $45 a square foot. For that, we get $20 a square foot in annual lease rates on a triple net lease. And so for expending $45 on the front end as your capital expenditures, you then get a lease rate of $20 a square foot annually. And that speaks for itself. It's a fantastic return. The third value proposition is for the consumer. It's our expectation that the price of cannabis is going to come down. Based upon our surveys, the average cost of annual cost, input cost for growing cannabis in a converted warehouse probably comes in around somewhere between $750 a pound to $1,000 a pound, depending upon the efficiencies of the grower. But our annual input costs are around $250 a pound. And that translates into a savings for the consumer because it's going to get very competitive. We've already seen that in Colorado right now. And if you're not able to produce the product at $750 to $100 or below $750 to $1,000 a pound, you're going to end up not being able to produce competitively. So in Two Rivers, in GrowCo, we know that we can grow the crop, the product, the marijuana at a price that is as low as anyone else can grow it, and we can deliver a higher quality product. So there's three value propositions. The value proposition is the grower, which is much lower cost per pound, better quality. The value proposition to the investor is $20 return annually on a $45 CapEx per square foot, and the value proposition to the consumer is a much lower price for the product and a higher quality for the product.
The cannabis sector is still filling itself out and growing at an exponential rate. Can you give us some insight into how you plan to stay profitable and sustainable in such a volatile marketplace?
So for us, it's always been in the greenhouse space itself. It's always been about growing naturally, growing efficiently. Growing efficiently is a function of how much energy you're going to have to use and pay for, and what's the size, what's the economy of scale that you can get to, and how can you capture what all plants need to grow as efficiently as possible. Well, the best way to capture the energy to grow a plant, to create the photosynthesis, is to simply take it from the sun. The sun is going to provide you 3 or 4 times the micromoles of UVB light and energy than can be produced by any indoor growing light. We use lights ourselves to extend the growing day during the winter, so that we get past that 12-hour threshold, so that the plants don't go into flower. But the best way to grow green is to have the sun provide the light that it provides for plants naturally. The second way that we capture some cost savings and do it organically, naturally, is that we use natural airflows and water cooling pads, low-tech water cooling pads, which are the state-of-the-art in the growing industry for a place like Colorado, where you can have temperatures that at times exceed 90, 95, 100 degrees Fahrenheit outside. And we can lower the temperature and maintain the temperature inside our greenhouse through computer-controlled sensors that automatically open the roofs when we need to rid ourselves of some humidity, or we can turn on our cooling pads and fans, which take natural airflow and run it through a ribbed fiber that runs along one side of the greenhouse and creates a gentle flow of air across the entire width of the greenhouse. And through that, because we're in an area that is naturally very dry, we're able to lower temperatures or control temperatures by as much as 20 or 30 degrees through the natural use of opening up our roofs, our peaked roofs, so that the humidity can rise and flow out the top, and we can cool down the indoors by running it through our cooling pads and fans. And then thirdly, we recycle all of our waters. We fully consume all the water that we bring in. We collect it in cooling ponds, we retreat it, and we use it to extinction. So we use the sun and what's available naturally to grow our plants in organic soils. That is a proprietary soil from one of our affiliates. And we are able to maintain an optimal temperature and humidity level inside our greenhouse so that we can consistently grow year-round. We don't have to stop in the summer like a lot of converted warehouses do, because they just simply cannot control the temperature and the humidity the way that we can. And we get that energy from the sun, and we get it from water. And then we recycle our water so that we fully consume it rather than just use it once. So we're probably as a company as green as you can get, and it just comes from the natural nature of growing in a greenhouse that's growing its products as naturally as it can do that.
Give us a little information about the 2015 World Cannabis Congress and Business Exposition in New York from June 17th to the 19th, if you'd be so kind.
So there's actually a tour that we're doing, and it's probably the coming out party for GrowCo, the debutante's ball for GrowCo. The world really doesn't know that much about us, and we're about to come into production, so we thought we'd get out there and tell the cannabis world and the investing world about GrowCo. So that'll start off in Denver with a trial run at CannaCon. I think it's coming up on later this week or early next week. Then we'll go to the conference in New York City, the Cannabis World Conference and Expo. And we are the only platinum sponsor there. And so we'll have a major booth. People will have the opportunity to meet, and Tim Bell, our two greenhouse gurus. And then my CFO will be there as well, along with some supporting staff. And we'll be there for 2 days. We'll also, as a preliminary show, present at the Harvard Club the day before that, just to get in front of some institutional investors there. And then 2 of our members are going to Montreal from there to another Cannabis Expo for a day on the following Monday, and then back to Denver. And that'll be our first trip out there, telling the world about GrowCo and how we grow and what GrowCo as a company looks like.
John, again, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. Thank you for taking the time to answer some questions for us. Everyone, please check out Two Rivers Water and Farming, ticker symbol TURV on the charts, and GrowCo, their marijuana subsidiary. Please also look into the World Cannabis Congress in New York from June 17th to 19th for more information there. As always, hit subscribe for our YouTube channel, head on over to potstocks.com, and generate some discussion threads on what you've heard today. Stay in the green.